Namaskar. Hello and welcome to PGurus channel. I'm your host Sree Iyer. Joining me is Professor Ramesh, formerly of IIM Bangalore, and we're going to be talking about wealth distribution from a management perspective, the pluses and minuses, as well as we're going to be touching upon the impact of BJP in Tamil Nadu. But this is the first time they have actually tried to cover every nook and corner of the state. So all this and more, let's welcome Professor G. Ramesh. Professor Ramesh, namaskar and welcome to PGurus channel. How are you, sir?
Yeah, it's my pleasure always talking to you. And it's a very sober talk we hold. I mean, that's something I love. And I'm sure all your listeners love. Yeah.
Yes, indeed, sir. I'm honored that you find it, useful to be on our channel. And we're almost like the moment a spark strikes, either of us connect with the other person. Right. So let's talk about this, and we jump.
In fact, one thing impresses me about your channel is that this is the only channel where the anchor or the moderator, you ask for permission to speak. Okay, in all other channels, it's actually the guest who have to ask permission to speak. Okay, so that way I love your channel. I mean,
Thank you, sir. The idea is to educate. The idea is to try and enrich your mind, also to look at you or give you alternate perspectives. Sometimes we actually bring guests on opposite sides of the spectrum. Let the viewer decide which one is the right one. Professor Ramesh, this wealth distribution has really touched off a hornet's nest. And I just finished one with a 30-plus-year-old boy genius, I call him Dr. Ankit Shah. And we talked about Sanatana economic model. I want you to kind of bring us back to the 21st century, a distribution of wealth. What is the impact from a management perspective, the good, the bad and the ugly? And then after that, we'll talk about the impact of BJP in Tamil Nadu, because it's something that needs to be touched upon also. Over to you, sir.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, in fact, I'm surprised by the way you have defined the problem. In the sense, it's a 19th century problem. Okay, it started with Karl Marx. Okay, and if you really see, and that time it was an ideological issue. He saw it as an ideological, issue. But now you call it as a management problem. Okay, there is a huge management problem if you really look at it, which I would even call it as a public policy issue also. Do you really want to do that way like that? So, I mean, they are really taking us back to the, the Karl Marx days and then to the Lenin and Stalin days. Okay. I mean, which is really ridiculous. I mean, USSR, where it really started, that itself has moved far away from that. And then to again go back to those days of wealth distribution and communism. I mean, it's really from management point of view, I would rather call it as like capitalistic anarchy or something like that. If in a capitalistic world, it will be really anarchy, if you really ask me about wealth distribution. Okay. You look at some of the even experiences of the past. One you can talk about is the, Land Ceiling Act. Okay. That was one where physically it was attempted, isn't it? It's not through taxation or something like that. I mean, it's not considered to be a big success, Land Ceiling Act, excepting in probably in West Bengal. And you are seeing the impact of land ceiling in West Bengal even today. Okay. In fact, if you see it that way, even in agriculture, West Bengal is not doing well. If land ceiling had really succeeded, at least in primary sector, they should be doing well. But even there, they are not doing well. Okay. So I don't know. I mean, what is the rationale they are thinking about, going back to the distribution of wealth and like that? And somebody even clarified saying, we are not even talking of distribution of income, but wealth itself. That is the source of income they are talking. Okay. And then there's really a drastic step. I only want to ask them and their own coalition partner, will they introduce land ceiling now in Punjab? They should just try. Already the farmers are on the road. I mean, if these people do, I don't know how the farmers react there. Okay. Though the people on the road protesting, they don't have any land and they don't have any produce also. Okay, they are really the proxy guys fighting for somebody else and like that. Another area you can really talk about, probably on the guise of redistribution, nationalization. If you remember, in the 60s, it was a big fever, nationalize like that, so that you take over. And then they used to talk about concentration of wealth and concentration of power, isn't it? I mean, economic power those days. And that has also failed, isn't it? I mean, we have stopped that forever almost. I don't think it's a reversible track nationalization, and that hasn't really achieved anything. It has in fact slowed down our growth, I would say, post 70s and like that. Otherwise, probably we might have grown much faster. That's one of the hypotheses, or you can call it as a counterfactual analysis, if one can talk about like that. So that also didn't really take. One area where they really succeeded, Sree, I mean, just for a, give the potential the argument, is really distributing the temple lands, isn't it? I mean, which belong to as if nobody, and then they just distribute it. For example, in Tamil Nadu, I don't know if they did it in Karnataka also. They get issued what is called as patta and things like that. Okay, which is giving the land rights. So if you look at all that, I mean, neither from let's say the possession point of view, okay, it has really helped. Maybe concentration is again come back in land area, okay, and wealth area also, and probably is irreversible. I was thinking, how would you really interpret wealth distribution? Okay, will you say, for example, that all engineering colleges or IIT, I pass a GO saying that all engineering, so whoever passes from this become IIT graduates. Okay, that's one way you can really distribute wealth so that everybody gets an equal compensation and things like that. Because what is the source of wealth? Isn't education is one, land, labor, capital. We used to say land. We have tried and failed. Okay, capital we tried and failed. If you really look at the nationalization like that. Okay, labor is human resource today. So how do you say that? I mean, can we say equal pay to all? In fact, that is another statement Manmohan Singh made. In fact, sad part is somebody said, don't criticize Manmohan Singh. I also support that view. You know why? Because throughout his tenure, he made only 3-4 statements, and those are becoming controversial. Otherwise, he never made any statements. Okay. One statement you remember
Hence,
is
Manmohan Singh.
Exactly. 1, 2, 3. You remember agreement on that time he's stood his ground and then he's criticized. Another statement he made, which was criticized then itself and dismissed, was ceiling on the compensation. He wanted, the compensation of the CEOs and top management to be really looked at. He didn't say control, because during the license era, even that was control in the sense, I think Ministry of Company Affairs probably, you need their permission to hike the top management salaries and like that at one time. Okay, in 80s and all, 70s and 80s. That was the sort of world we were living in. And do we want to go back to that, which really kills all incentive to invest, incentive to work, incentive to empower yourself, isn't it? Rather you should really try to see how to empower people, gain them skills, knowledge, and then capital, rather than really making everybody equal. I'll give one more metrics and then I'll stop here. I was just thinking mentally, suppose I distribute equally to everybody, like the way China started long back and like that. Okay. I mean, what will be the income? That will be the per capita income, isn't it? That's what per capita income means. So everybody gets the equivalent of per capita income. Like if you, I mean, then there is no more they can talk about Ambani, Adani, and things like that. I mean, people like that. Okay. I mean, okay, with that income, what will the guy do? Okay, where will the investment come from? Where will the growth come from? Where will the infrastructure come from? How do you even run the government? Okay. So I think, I mean, it does. I'm still trying to understand. One area I again agree, which is what Modi said. Okay, he said that I will redistribute black money. Okay, that's where that 15 lakh controversy came. He said if I'm able to really get back all those money, then I can distribute. Okay. So do they mean that? Let them at least say that. No, that would be really appreciable if they say that. We'll see to that the black money from all the politicians are taken out and redistributed. That is something people would welcome, but not from somebody who has earned his income, whichever way. I mean, maybe through using his own, economic power, knowledge power, like that. But you cannot really take it away from them. Yeah, Sree.
Professor Ramesh, it has become norm now that to get elected, we will put whatever we have to say and then see if it sticks. Now, if you look at what the Karnataka government did or the Himachal Pradesh government did, in order to come to power, they made some outlandish promises and they couldn't fulfill them. And then they blamed it back on the center, saying that the center hasn't allocated enough revenues. Now, they know fully well when they made the promises that this is not going to be sustainable. Now, what happens is, at this point of time, should it not be the opposition's role to try and point out that, look, Where is the money now? You said you will do all these things for the people. You have not done it. See, I don't see that pushback from BJP, which is the leading opposition party, whether it is Karnataka or Himachal Pradesh. Now, why is the BJP, in my opinion, sir, and you can say, no, that's not true. Why is it holding back its punches?
In one sense, BJP is large in election machinery. Okay. Now, if they come out openly, they could be apprehensive how it could boomerang on them. Because this is a big lure to all the voters like that. I'll give you this, I'll give you that, and things like that. And then in the end say that, sorry, I couldn't do because center didn't give. Even today, I'll tell you, even the people who complain that DMK didn't keep its promises, let's say 1,000 rupees promise and things like that, for many months they didn't give, they'll again go back and vote. Okay. Somewhere I feel that they have been fed this narrative for so long by DMK, even the socialistic pattern of society. Do you remember 1956 onwards? The Congress passed the resolution, Navadi and all that. Okay. By this itself, they feel that people's stomach will be filled. So you go attend a meeting, you hear all the promises, like seeing a movie. Okay. You feel really good. Okay. You feel as if you have, you only hit the villain. Okay. And then, so they listen to all these promises. For that day, their stomach is full. Okay. And then they come back. Right? This is really ridiculous. You said that non-implementable, you said, okay. Politicians also know this is not the rational thing to do. Let me tell you. In fact, there is one statement. One author said, I don't remember, how is it that something wrong from everybody's angle is right from political angle, from politicians' angle? Okay. So everybody, even the layman would say, we know that what they are doing or saying is wrong. But, but from the politician side, they think that this can really get them the vote, do you think FMCG companies selling a product can do this, make false promises? Do you think they will last more than one season if they do these sort of promises and don't fulfill the promises like that,
People have tried. FMCG has fast-moving consumer goods have tried something like this. I remember one soap, washing soap, like the one that you use to wash clothes. What they did was they increased the size of the soap bar and they advertised that now for the same price, this bigger dimensions. Except what they did was the manufacturing process left a hole in the middle. It is not visible from outside. So when you start using it, you don't see it. But once you go to like 30% usage, suddenly the thing collapses. Then you realize that, then you say, okay, maybe it was wet. You see, the whole thing is done by that time. So these kind of clever gimmickry they try once in a while.
But I think that is allowed, I think, because nobody has filed a case on them. No court has looked into that. And you know what I mean. Okay.
Yes. Well, I have a relative who had actually done work on this in Hyderabad. And I don't know how far the thing, again, see, it's a big mess.
Only when Ayurveda does it's wrong, Sree. Okay.
Yes, of course.
I'm just wanted to correct you. Okay.
Very true. So this as a concept hasn't worked in the few times that it has been implemented. I wanted to just add to you, sir, Narsimha Rao took at face value what Indira Gandhi had said in 1969 or 71, Garibi Hatao. 71, I think, Garibi Hatao was a slogan. And they come to power. And then what happens is, somewhere something goes wrong, Brahmanand Reddy falls foul of the center, and Narsimha Rao becomes the chief minister. Yeah. And he says, I'm going to implement these land ceiling act reforms. And he actually got it, he started implementing it. And the biggest donors to the Congress party were all landlords.
Yeah.
And they didn't like what he was trying to do. So he only lasted a year and a few months. And then he was pulled into the center because I think Indira Gandhi, in a rare moment of wisdom, felt that he was too good a person to be just, cast away. And she used him after that in the center. But the thing that happened, sir, he did get the land pata to the people who are tilling the land. Unfortunately, these people had the land, but they didn't have the money to buy the seeds. They didn't have the money to buy the fertilizers, and they were not credit worthy at that point of time. Yeah. Then what happened? They went back to the same person from where they got the land, threw it away for a pittance of a price. Basically, they became bonded again. So that really didn't make a difference, is what I'm trying to say. You may be on paper the owner of a piece of land, but you couldn't do anything with it.
Correct. I mean, you couldn't do anything, and it brought out some of the worst behavior of the people. I mean, the way they responded to the Land Ceiling Act and like that. Okay, and it wasn't a success at all in many states. But at least one principle is more or less established. If you want to sell land, the small pieces of land which you and I may have in villages, that's what happened to us also. We have no other option but to sell to the tiller only, who has been your tiller and like that. It's very difficult to sell outside that system and like that. But otherwise, see, you take the Antyodaya scheme, it was called, okay, the poorest 5 people, I think Vajpayee started like that, probably, NDA, okay. But Antyodaya scheme says, I will support you, give you the financial support and other support, okay, even direct benefit, what we talk now, like grains or cash or like that. But it didn't say that I will take money from the rich in the, in the village and then give 5 poor families, isn't it? He didn't say that. I mean, then it would have been a chaos in the village, isn't it? I mean, just nobody will really allow that. I mean, you just can't enter a village if something like that, any government doesn't like that. Like, I will take this land and then give it to the poor in that village itself, let's say. Okay. Do you think such a scheme is really workable at all? I mean, and so I don't know which way. So as I said, land, labor, capital, let them come up with how they plan to really distribute. So one they say is the taxation. Sam Pitroda, I mean, you should really clarify, say that in US it's 55% inheritance tax. That has been already, countered by many people from many NRIs, and then I don't know which other way they really mean to do that.
Yes.
But I mean, I think somebody should really talk to people whether they believe in this promise and what do they think this promise means and like that.
Yes, indeed, Professor Ramesh. Just 1 minute for all the people who might not have seen my Hindi broadcast on this. Look, there is a concept called living wills and trusts in the United States, where anybody who's worth even 500,000 personal income, they establish this living will and trust, where it's exactly defined what happens to you after you, the sequence of succession. Everything can be down to the last detail, and then you don't have to pay this inheritance tax. The inheritance tax is the default case. When somebody rich person, dies because he doesn't like his heirs or he doesn't have heirs or something very, very sloppy paperwork, which nobody ever does. There is something in our blood, whether it is American or Indian, we just don't like paying taxes. So we are going to do everything possible to manage our taxes. And this has become a part of tax management strategy for anybody. And what he is saying is something like a very, very minuscule condition, but he's trying to apply that as if that is what is the rule in United States. That is blatantly wrong, which is why I think even the Congress has walked itself off from that observation of Sam Pitroda, saying that it's his personal view or something like this. Came just a few hours ago. So that I think is laid to rest. Yes, sir.
The point you made, nobody likes to pay tax. Okay. I mean, I don't know I hope you remember Nani Palkiwala. Okay. He used to every year do one, post-budget session and like that talk. It used to be very rage. In fact, last he used to do it in Braeburn Stadium. That many people used to come. Okay. The problem was that the taxation was becoming so steep, maybe 90% plus marginal tax, I mean. Okay. At the margin, if you earn 1 rupee, you pay 95% as tax and things like that. Why would somebody earn? Why would somebody be interested in earning at that stage? It's becoming very counterproductive. That's why we started bringing down, and it's now 30% plus and things like that. And of course, it might be leading to concentration of wealth and income, but people are, after all, contributing, and it's all from their own, I would say, work, isn't it? And then you pay through tax and then help others. Otherwise, even that taxation might have gone down, the total taxes that the government may be collecting over the years, because you are killing the very incentive to accumulate wealth, okay, and you are killing the very incentive to earn money, earn income, and like that, So this is just not, I mean, this is a way to look at it from a management angle and the policy angle. Ideologically, anything you can justify. Like I said, and everything wrong from everybody, is right from ideology side and right from politician side. I mean.
Well, thank you, Professor Ramesh. And now we have one other thing that we wanted to touch upon. Unfortunately, we didn't make it into our title, so please bear with us. This is an important topic that Professor Ramesh and I have been following. What exactly happened in the recently concluded Tamil Nadu elections? Middle class, many people were disenfranchised, meaning like they could not vote. And looks like there has been a systematic plan to not allow people to come in and vote. And they realized too late that they couldn't do it. I mean, a retired Major General, General Rajiv, has tweeted it out saying that he couldn't vote. And I mean, this is a major, this person was a fairly high-ranked official, and you deny him the vote. I mean, what kind of system was in place? So I don't know where people did this thing. Committed bureaucracy, committed judiciary. You guys have to go back and understand what this meant. This was introduced in Indira Gandhi days. Professor Ramesh, despite all these things, the BJP is feeling very upbeat because they seem to have done something. Talk to us a little bit about your perception, because you were very close to the ground.
Correct. Yeah. I mean, in fact, incidentally, Sree, though we have not been speaking open, I am following all these things from Kamraj days. Even as a school student, I am from the area called 𝗣𝗧𝗍𝗫 in Chennai. I used to attend meetings of all the leaders, Kalaignar onwards, Annadurai, all of them used to come to my area because our area used to be a very important constituency like that. One interesting observation I have on this, why this was felt this time, middle class, some of them being left out. This time, actually, middle class wanted to vote. That's a big change, Sree. That's where I feel that, this time probably so many things got noticed and, people started screaming, isn't it? Earlier, probably middle class was not voting itself, probably. Those areas, though, voting percentages are low like that. That itself shows the pull that Annamalai would have had on the middle class and BJP would have had on the middle class. Did you hear any slum dweller complaining my votes have been deleted? What is their confidence that slum dwellers will vote for us but middle class will not vote for us? I don't understand. I mean, where do they get this insights and things like that? But my hypothesis, probably it was happening before also, but never noticed, because I will blame the middle class only because they never went to vote. Now only probably they started voting. And they realized that, I wouldn't use the word, but it's really true. You lost the right to vote, isn't it? I mean, you've got a voter ID, but that you can use it for getting passport, for opening a bank account, but you cannot go and vote. That's the status they have. It has become an address proof, but not a proof for voting, okay, which is ridiculous if you ask me, So I hope they really plug it. But what is important is that now, Annamalai somewhere he was saying, okay, last time he said that I mobilized all, but now we have to learn to bring the voter to the booth. I mean, canvas so that you make them vote. I would go one step, also ensure 1 month, 2 months before that they are all on the voters list and they are eligible to vote. Now people are asking as smartly, oh, you should ensure that your voters are all listed. I mean, how far a party will go, isn't it? I mean, they are after all able to motivate the voters to come and vote. But post that, if they find that they are not in the voters list, okay, you don't blame the party. Okay, I would blame the government machinery only. But I think this is fixable. Again, look at the political dynamics of that. So the government, as well as the election commission, said, why not link it up with Aadhaar? If you link it up with Aadhaar, all these anomalies will not happen. Okay. So I think that is something that Tamil Nadu election has shown it. And using this, I think the government should really propel this fast. It can say, if you want, you link it up with Aadhaar. Once I link it up with Aadhaar, I can even vote from any booth, probably, just showing the proof. And I'm sure that is the way we'll be heading towards, the way I look at it.
Professor Ramesh,
though if somebody doesn't have an Aadhaar, you cannot deny him a vote. That right always remains. Only right he doesn't have, if he's not in the list itself, then he doesn't exist.
The only discordant note here, Professor Ramesh, is that Aadhaar can be given even to non-citizens of India.
Yeah. Okay. Oh.
Okay. So that is the thing. Your Venn diagram has to be voter card plus. That's why they said you got to have voter card plus Aadhaar. Aadhaar gives you the biometric proof that you are you, and the voter card proves that you are the citizen. Essentially, this is one way of implementing NRC, National Registry of Citizens. One way of implementing it.
Look at it. You start somewhere. It's so complex, everything, isn't it? So you take one issue, then there are so many related issues.
Very true, very true, very true, very true. But I think one of the things that EC could do, Election Commission could do, is they have to write software so that they know if dwellers in a certain flat system, one of them should not be asked to go 2 miles away when everybody else is voting in a single booth. You should be able to ensure this. This is not that hard. So there is some normalization process required, and husband going one way, one place, wife going somewhere, that doesn't make sense at all. All these things.
I think they can learn it from IRCTC, the way it alerts birth in the train. If they can do that, I don't know why, the election commission cannot do it.
So
They
true,
do it
so true.
properly. I mean, it's very simple. These are all, just ask somebody, they'll tell you if there is an intention to do that.
So, sir, to finish up the discussion in Tamil Nadu, in your opinion, how was the feedback about coverage of booths by BJP? Were they present in at least the 23 constituencies where they had their symbol?
Yeah. So one stick everybody used to beat, Annamalai with is that, oh, you are doing all these rallies, you have been meeting press, but where are the booth agents? Okay, have you really, started thinking about the booth agents and where are they? I don't know, where did they come from? They came from all over. I mean, leave alone, of course, Annamalai got so many booth agents to manage and like that. Then there was worry that will the other constituencies have booth agent, but at least you and I didn't hear, and we didn't read any report that there was any booth where BJP was contesting and there was no agent. Okay, because they would have made a big news of that if that had been the case. Okay, and in fact, it is the booth agents, till the end, they have been very watchful that, especially in places like Chennai, where the voting percentage finally turned out to be low, they stopped the spike. Now we should really, try to understand how those spikes were happening in the previous elections in the last hour. Were they genuine votes, or who are those guys? Suddenly the spikes happening, or probably the agents were not alert enough, isn't it? So one of the things they say is that the agents are so alert that the spikes didn't happen. That's also one possible reason that people are giving this time. Okay. So that is something they have managed, and I'm sure, they would have got a lot of volunteers to manage also the way they. And I hope, I'm sure like people, people, if you see like TTV, or even let's say, Dinakaran, and OPS and all, they have been with AIDMK, so they know how to organize at the booth level the people and then mobilize and like that. Similarly, PMK, it would have its own resources to manage the booths, isn't it?
Yes.
So I didn't hear any complaint. We go by public reports and what people say and media say, at our own personal contact. We also speak to journalists and like that. At least I didn't hear of any, the booth agent not being there at any of the booths. And there has been some rampant wrong votings and like that. So I would say that I'm really marvelous how he really managed. He has been on the yatra all the time. Okay. Until the end, you don't know which constituency you are going to be fighting. And in the last 1 month to really mobilize so many booth agents, imagine lakhs they should have mobilized. That's really marvelous. I think some, back end work would have been going on into all this, So I think this is something the government, the two things it has established, BJP, in this election. It's organizational ability. How many leaders are coming? All of them were, there is a crowd at the airport, on the road show, on the public meeting, all those things they managed. Okay. And many of them look like, even like you said, middle class, and then across the class and people who were watching on the road. And then, of course, middle class won't go to the airport and receive voluntarily, but definitely they are on the road shows and public meetings and like that. So organizational skill, they are really established throughout. And then, of course, the booth management. I think booth management, in fact, I was told that a lot of people are contacted. My relatives in Chennai and all were saying, and they have distributed these booth slips and things like that. So it has arrived. So what we can say, Sree arrived, it has arrived. Annamalai has arrived. In fact, he is now busy outside. He's so confident of his constituency, Tamil Nadu now is in fact going outside and canvas. How many other leaders you have seen, leaving their constituency, their own place, and then going out? And what I've seen after election, where people go, they go to temples. Even the most atheist guy also after election, they go to temples. I appreciate him. He going to other constituencies and canvassing, this guy.
Yes, indeed. Thank you so much, Professor Ramesh. And viewers, please keep this in mind. We'll tweak the title to reflect the fact that we also discussed about how efficiently the BJP managed the elections in Tamil Nadu. By the way, the final thing is the proof of the pudding is in its eating. That will be the vote tally count and the voter percentage. Both these are numbers that are going to be very important because, like you said, they have come and they have come to stay. This is not something that is going to, it's only going to grow up from here on. So to that extent, we can all agree on this, sir. Professor Ramesh, we have a few questions from our viewers, if you
Sure.
don't mind taking them, sir.
Yeah, I always love that. Yeah.
Thank you. 𝗚𝗚𝘁𝗍𝘍 Kulkarni, thank you so much for becoming a YouTube member. Temple Economy wants to know, what's the policy to distribute open and barren land to startups and other entrepreneurs for sustainable environmental development?
See, this policy there, for example, there are, I mean, I'm not very sure, but I'm making this, peripheral areas of forest, okay, which are denuded or which are, I think they allow people there, tribals to, use it and cultivate like that. Maybe you have the, you may not have the ownership right, but you have the right to the product on that, produce on that, okay. Definitely those have been attempted, but you know what's happening here? Why not open land, barren land? So what happens is, after a point, a lake becomes an open land, it becomes a barren land because you cut all the channels, and then you set up apartments on that, and then you say water has come to my first floor. It will come because it was a lake, isn't it? So in these definitions, the moment you open up the Pandora box and then scope for all these things, you don't know where it will end. No, that's what it happened in Bangalore. And then similarly, it can happen around the forest. Why not really regrow the forest there? Okay, rather than growing some other produce there. That's the point. In fact, Jairam Ramesh came up with a policy for bamboo. Okay, that really helped regrowing the bamboo around the forest. These give protection to, the like areas like, let's say, from landslides and all that. Yeah.
Next one, please. Magad Ranga wants to know, Namaskar, in Karnataka, the guarantees were implemented, albeit with conditions that weren't part of the promises. Could Congress claim it has fulfilled the promises?
Yeah, you don't make you don't make promises with caveats. Okay. When you make promise, you make full. That's what I mean, because their intention is not to be honest and then, win the battle with all the, integrity and honesty and like that. Like they say, everything is fair and, in war and law, like that, probably election also, everything is fair. So, if they are so honest to really give the caveats also for the guarantees, then they won't be giving those guarantees. Okay, they really think 10 times before giving those guarantees, thinking, do they have really the resources, and is it the optimum way to do? Okay, that's a question.
Professor Ramesh, I go back in time in history. We'll come to the next question in just a minute. Professor Ramesh, I go back in history. One of the main reasons for the 1967 victory of DMK was that promise that Annadurai made. And I'll first say it in English, in Tamil, and then I'll translate it in English. Moonru padi latchiyam, oru padi nichchayam. What it meant was that he said 3 measures of padi is approximately 750 grams. So 2.25 kilograms.
Padi is more than a kilo, 1.4 kilos, 1.4.
1.4. Okay. So 4.2 kilograms per rupee was the promise they want to give. But for sure they'll give 1.4 kilos for 1 rupee. I want to know what happened, sir, after that.
I think they managed to give, okay, but they couldn't sustain after that. I don't know if you remember in the 60s and even in the early 70s, okay, you and I won't go to the public distribution and won't be able to eat those rices. It used to be very, brown, this, with a lot of, other accessories, stones and, other frills and like that. So people wouldn't be, maybe the poorest could be using that like that. He implemented it, Annamalai. Sorry, I'm really good. Annadurai. But I don't think it was really sustained. And then they kept diluting it. Then it would have become 2 rupees. Then it would have become 3 rupees, like that. Okay. But they did implement it in some form, and it was thought to be a good program and like that, just as midday meal scheme, which, Kamraj started. The main point I want to say that when Kamraj started midday meals and Annadurai started, okay, they defined, who is eligible, and then they also would have looked at the resources. It's not like, they would have been really mindless in making promises and like that. Subsequently, that was not there. See, MGR even promised like free chapels for people and like that, because he saw the rickshaw-man pulling on the road on a barefoot, okay, and that moved him, which is a good thing to do, okay, and that's not going to bleed a government. But day to day, month on month, to really keep giving 1,000 rupees to doles like this to people, it's really, it's not just sustainable unless some venture capitalist is funding all this, governments. Then you can do all this. Yeah.
Thank you, sir. Next question, please. Ramnath Kaushik wants to know, will writing of wills to distribute our wealth assets to our children become obsolete because government already has decided this for us?
Correct. So this is what is happening. It won't have, I hope it won't go that far, but it has managed to create this fear, isn't it? Why will this person ask this question? Okay, because that's a sort of the consequence and futuristic perspective that he sees. So already people have started thinking about all these. What will they do? They'll send the wealth abroad and keep it there, and and live in a 2 BHK here or something like that, isn't it? So I would say to Ramnath, don't worry about your wealth, because there are their wealth. You first let them start with. Okay, so you let them start with their wealth and distribute. Okay, it's all accounted for. Okay, and then they will come to our wealth. Okay, that's where you have to really protect your wealth.
In America, we say, put your money where your mouth is.
Exactly. So that they don't take it from you.
Yes. Vignesh wants to know, why do parties like Congress come out with hopeless promises like this, knowing this is not implementable? Do people vote based on this, especially so-called village/uneducated voters?
There is something called, in public policy making, rational methods of making public policy, and not irrational but non-rational ways of making public policy. Okay, so as I said, they think that, they know, yes, I'm irrational, and that's what makes me a hero, incidentally. Okay, and I'm waiting for all the economists. Okay, IIM economists, like Chicago economists, and then like people like Kaushik Basu, Raghuram Rajan, and then Subramanyam and all these people, to really, I want to hear them what they got to say on this. And incidentally, IIM is getting a bad name for all for all these things nowadays. Including Annamalai's opponent. Sree Iyer, no, we have nothing to do with that. They were saying no.
So true. Professor Ramesh, what an enriching discussion it was. Thank you so much, sir. And viewers, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel. I hope you've got enough from us. Like, we have rounded out this thing from looking at different angles about this stuff. Hopefully, I think we can set this thing to rest, because we can see that Congress is furiously backpedaling on this. And so we'll have to wait and see how this plays out. I would like to see some tangible ideas, good ideas come through and take root. So let's wait and see how that goes. Professor Ramesh, always an honor and pleasure to host you, sir. We'll be back again with you very soon.
Namaskar. It's my pleasure. Thank you.